My squadron conducts red flag in support of both the joint and coalition forces to provide them that intense combat experience and the safety of the training environment.
All right, media, whenever you guys have questions, go ahead and ask. You need to ask name for your bit. Go ahead.
Colonel Steve Wolford with News 3. Thanks for being here and letting us come in. Is there, first of all, which commander are you in the adversarial role or in the good guy role, just so we know?
So as the 414th Combat Training Squadron Commander, I act as the Combined Forces Air Component Commander. And what I do is I run the scenarios for red flag from a white force perspective. And what that means is that I make sure that both blue and red forces are operating in accordance with the directives that we've been giving them.
Good, glad I asked that. Is there anything that you're doing in this particular version of red flag that would differ from previous exercises?
Yes, Red Flag 22-1 is unique in that we continue to build on the scenarios and problem sets that we have in years past. And what we are delivering during this red flag is a more advanced threat to fight against and a more complex scenarios. And we're really dialing up the contested, degraded, and operationally limited factors of the flag.
I know you can't speak specifically to certain situations in other parts of the world right now, but in general, are there any specific ways you can train our pilots and our allies' pilots for specific adversaries, whether it be China or Russia or Iran?
So our aggressors are a professional force, and they are trained to replicate threats from around the world, as well as our white force that is trained to put together scenarios that mimic the problem sets that we will face from around the world. The Department of Defense's pacing threat is China, and needless to say, we are preparing for all threats and all scenarios that we could face across the world.
We understand that typically the adversarial pilots tend to win a little more often in these types of exercises. Why is this a good time for us to lose?
I wouldn't say that the adversaries win more often than not, but if we're going to lose, we need to lose in this environment so that we're ready. We always present a harder adversary than we'll face in combat, and if we lose a little bit more in training, that's a fair price to pay for being ready to go to combat.
And just out of curiosity, if one of our planes is knocked down, what happens? Where do they have to go and change?
So in the scenario, we remove players that are killed real time back to the eastern side of the training space, and then they're allowed to re-enter the fight. If they don't receive that notification real time, then they are eliminated from the scenario for 5 minutes, and then are allowed back in.
Okay. Open mic time. Anything that you want to mention about what's happening and just like today, for example?
So no other questions?
From Nellis to you, sir, can you speak about the importance of our allied forces being here participating in Red Flag?
Yes, so like I alluded to before, the problem sets that we're presenting during this flag have never been seen before. And they're not solvable unless we bring all the forces from our allies, the special and exquisite capabilities that they have. And that's one of the main focus items that we have here is working on the interoperability and integration with those forces so that we can be ready to fight alongside our allies anytime, anywhere.
And also, Nellis PA, if you could talk about the importance of the Nevada Test and Training Range as it plays in Red Flag.
Sure, it's no secret why Red Flag is based at Nellis Air Force Base, and that is because of the great support of the local community and the Nevada Test and Training Range. There's nowhere else in the world that you can train like you can here with the over 12 million square miles of airspace and 2.9 million acres of land that we can train on, and it's not possible to do it anywhere else in the world.
Senior Richmond with the Mine Air Force Base, PA. Can you tell us who was involved in this exercise and how everyone benefits from this?
So we have forces from across the United States Air Force. I won't speak to the specific participants, but we also have representatives from the United Kingdom and Australia, and they've all brought their most exquisite capabilities to bear during this exercise.
And I think it's worth being very clear that what's happening right now is in no way, shape, or form connected to anything that might be happening around the Euro Mountains.
That's 100% true. We would be doing this in the same exact form and fashion that we are, regardless of what the world events are.
All right, any other further questions? Okay. Thank you.
Can I make one more statement?
Absolutely.
So I'd like to say thank you to the local community for all the support that they've been offering the participants over this 3 weeks. The enthusiasm and support that we see when we go off the base is very noticeable, and our participants really appreciate it. So thank you.
388th Fighter Wing Commander at Hill Air Force Base, Utah. And my role at Red Flag is the Air Expeditionary Wing Commander for the about 100 or so aircraft and about 3,000 or so folks that have traveled in for this exercise. I'd just like to say that, like Colonel Hutchinson talked about, this is a unique opportunity for everybody that gets to come to Red Flag. There are scenarios that we can only train to here. There are threats that we can only fight here. And the combined nature of the multiple aircraft, the adversaries, the threat simulation on the ground, and our ability to work across different communities, whether that be F-35, F-16s, F-15s, our partners and allies from Australia and the UK, provides an opportunity that you can only get here at Nellis. So happy to be here.
Yeah, initially, how often do you have an opportunity to train with the RAF and the Australians?
So I will say, you know, our opportunity to train with our allies, really, it's not very often we get that chance. And so having the opportunity here at Red Flag for all the participants is something that they'll do, you know, not all that often, but I will say that we make a concerted effort to find exercises, whether they be Red Flag or in Europe or other places, to train with our partners and allies, because we know that if we go and do this for real, it's a coalition that's going to go take the fight to the enemy.
Are there any specific scenarios that you might train for that would be different if a situation was unfolding in Australia versus a situation that might be unfolding in Europe, and having the ability to triangulate, I guess?
Yeah, so the ability to train for multiple scenarios in multiple locations around the world is something that is unique to Red Flag and Nellis Air Force Base and the Nellis Test and Training Range. So the professional adversaries and the professional white force that develops the scenarios here is able to replicate threats and scenarios that we may see anywhere across the globe to better prepare us for those challenges in the future.
Sir, I have a question. If you could also address or speak to how your previous involvement with Red Flag has prepared you for your current role at this Red Flag.
Yeah, so I will say that my previous experiences in Red Flag as a young wingman in the F-16, a flight lead in the F-16, an instructor in the F-16, now as an F-35 pilot, as a squadron commander in the F-16, and now as a Air Expeditionary Wing Commander. It's like everything else in your career. We build and build and build, right? We educate and train to continue to grow as pilots, officers, and leaders in the Air Force. And so those experiences and the unique opportunities I've had over my career to come out to Nellis and to train here, all of that plays into my ability to do what I do today.
What does it mean to these air crews who can do this? I mean, is there any other event like Red Flag anyplace else in the world?
So what does it mean to the folks that come out to a Red Flag? I will tell you, as a wing commander here, and seeing, you know, not just the pilots and the air crew and how excited they are to face the challenges that come with going to Red Flag, but our maintainers, our aircrew flight equipment personnel support, our intelligence professionals, everybody who is a part of this exercise is learning every day, and they are having opportunities and experiencing events that they won't see anywhere else. All right, for our young pilots and aircrew at their first red flag, this is the first time they will experience a large force exercise with partners and allies from around the globe, facing a professional adversary that provides a very challenging scenario that will prepare them for combat should we face it. Red Flag was designed to provide your first 10 combat sorties, and every unit that's here strives to get their youngest pilots their first 10 sorties at Red Flag to make sure they're ready to go do whatever our nation calls us to do in the future.
Hello, my name is Wing Commander John Cockroft. I'm Officer Commanding No. 1 Fighter Squadron of the Royal Air Force. We're based at RAF Lossiemouth, and we've brought with us on this exercise Typhoon aircraft from the Royal Air Force. Happy to answer any questions you may have.
Yeah, sir, if you would just speak about, being here from a foreign participant and just the value that training at Red Flag has for the Royal Air Force.
So for the Royal Air Force, Red Flag represents an unparalleled opportunity to operate and train in a contested, degraded and operationally limited environment that we can't do anywhere else in the world. And the professional, high-end, challenging adversary set that we get placed here as well is something else we can't train anywhere else in.
Can you speak on, you said like Red Flag is good for your force. Can you speak on the like allied portion of it, like working together with the American forces, not just what Nellis offers?
Sure. So for us, as has already been alluded to, working as part of a coalition and increasing our interoperability is key for us. The capabilities that both the USAF have here and our Australian colleagues as well, combined with our own, makes us a much more effective fighting force when we all learn and understand each other's capabilities.
After you leave Nellis, what are some of the lessons that you hope to learn that you'll be able to continue to train on once you get back to the UK?
So for any training exercise that we do, we will always take away some lessons. And for us, bringing the junior pilots to this scale of exercise and having them integrate with such large numbers of other platforms and to be able to operate at the high-end level of their skill set is what we'll take back to the future, back to the Royal Air Force.
Got a question, sir. Did you guys ever have a chance to fly with F-35s when they were in Europe? And is this the first time you've flown with a fifth-generation asset? And what do you think about those capabilities so far?
So we've been really fortunate to fly with fifth-gen assets on quite a number of occasions, both in Europe and across here in the US. We come across to the US whenever we can in order to be able to train with those high-end platforms as well. And obviously the Royal Air Force has also bought F-35s as well. So we're integrating those into our own skill set. But actually a lot of the learning that we've done out here in the US over the last 5 years has enabled us to work seamlessly with our own F-35s as they've come to service, particularly to start off with the Raptors that we have out here.
So, one of the parts about Red Flag that isn't often discussed is, the fighter pilot mentality and culture. We bring the best, and we hope that they're very excited and confident until they run up against the professional aggressive force that it's not, and then have to have a big slice of humble pie and come back ready. And that's the whole point, is that we're sharpening the proverbial spear here at Red Flag. Do you find that the case with your airmen as well, that they're excited, but they're able, upon interacting with Red Air for the first time, to go, whoa, maybe we weren't as confident and capable as we could be. But that's a good thing, generally. You do it that way as well.
What do I think of the fighter pilot mentality? So, yes, we come out here and we're excited. It's exciting to be able to operate at the levels that we need to be operated to here. It is also important as a fighter pilot to be able to test your abilities, because we train a lot to be able to do what we do, and to be able to put those skill sets right at the front and test how good you are against a professional fighting high-end red air adversary is satisfying. Sometimes daunting with the presentations that are given to us, but actually, as you overcome those and figure out how to be better, that increases confidence massively, and that's what we're here to do.
Any further questions? Sir, would you like to just add anything?
For me, it's from the Royal Air Force, it's a privilege to be able to be here, to be invited to come here, and it's an honor to be able to participate in this exercise. We value it hugely, and it is one of our keystone exercises in the Royal Air Force that we will attend absolutely all the time. And for the local communities here that support us and enabling us to do that, we also thank you very much.
Thank you, sir.
Morning all. Wing Commander Damien Fairhurst. I'm the commander of the Australian Task Unit that is here at Red Flag for 22-1. We've brought with us approximately 120 personnel and a number of capabilities that span across the airborne surveillance, command and control capabilities, ground-based command and control, cyber, non-kinetic effects, and then a number of support agencies as well in terms of our security, personnel administration, communications, logistics, and medical staff. Any questions?
Yeah, sir, what are some of the challenges of interoperability that you face that you hope to mitigate by participating in Red Flag?
So Red Flag for the Royal Australian Air Force is one of the world's premier air-to-air combat activities that we just cannot replicate back home. The training environment that is offered to us here is far exceeds anything we'd be able to do at home. And therefore the ability for us to come here and put to test some of our techniques, tactics and procedures that we've learned back home and with our coalition partners, and to test and adjust those as we go. It is extremely important for us to be here and part of that training environment.
Which type of aircraft are you guys having take part in the training?
So for this year, we have brought a smaller contingent. We have the E-7A Wedgetail, which is our airborne surveillance command and control platform. It is operated by 2 Squadron, Royal Australian Air Force. And essentially they are up there in the air, they suck in a lot of data and distribute that data to all the warfighting capabilities within the battle space and act essentially as a common air picture for everyone to work to, which provides both directed information for the warfighters, but also provides a safety net as well for when we need to just make sure everything is happening safely in the airspace.
Are there any opportunities, training opportunities that you would be looking for specifically that you cannot get in any other scenario?
So similar to our coalition partners' answer as well, is that there's a number of training outcomes that need the magnitude of something like this, which we just cannot produce back home. The ability to actually afford that exposure to our crews and our personnel to operate in this environment is paramount to us creating that high-end warfighter who's confident to go into a fight and be able to come home safely.
Sir, can you speak to, with respect to E-7 and your crew, the opportunity to speak to 4 consistent aircraft all in one big picture? I imagine you don't necessarily have the opportunity to do that back home, but are there lessons you're learning with respect to controlling and providing that common operating picture for consistent that are materializing to
Yeah, most definitely. Look, and with every exercise that we do, there will be lessons identified that we take home and then learn from those. Already in just week 1 of this activity, the E-7 crews have been able to tick off a lot of personnel competencies and recencies. They are being presented with scenarios that some of them have never seen before, and this is the opportunity for them to now work with those opportunities and to learn from those, and are no doubt replicating what they've learned now in subsequent missions on the exercise which then means a far better service then for the warfighters that are in the battle space on the receiving end of that data.
Is there any further questions? Sir, do you have anything you'd like to add?
Lastly, just a huge thank you to Colonel Hutchinson, 414th and your team and everyone else here at Nellis for the invite. We will continue to come to this activity. It is one of the premier air-to-air combat activities around the world for us to participate in. The hospitality's been great. We're really enjoying our time. And to the local community as well, we've only experienced good vibes out on the town and in the hotels, people taking care of us out there. So it's been a really, really good experience. Thank you.
Thank you, gentlemen.
Yep.